It was the night of October 16th, 2021, a date I won't forget for as long as I live. The sky was dark and the rain was coming down in sheets, making it difficult to see the road ahead. I had just finished a long shift at the hospital where I worked as a nurse. My name is Samantha Davis, but everyone calls me Sam. It was around 11 p.m. and I was exhausted and eager to get home. My old Honda Civic was running low on fuel and the gas light had been on for the past 10 miles. I had no choice but to stop at the first gas station I could find. I pulled into a small rundown station on the outskirts of town. The sign flickered weakly in the rain, casting an eerie glow over the deserted pumps. There was no one else around. I parked my car under the canopy, grabbed my wallet, and stepped out into the rain. The cold drops felt like tiny needles on my skin as I hurried to the pump. I swiped my card and began to fill the tank. As I stood there, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. A quick glance around the station revealed nothing but darkness and rain. The small convenience store attached to the gas station was dimly lit, and I could see a figure moving inside. The clerk, I assumed. I finished filling up and decided to go inside to grab a snack for the drive home. As I entered the store, a bell chimed, announcing my presence. The clerk, a middle-aged man with a scruffy beard and tired eyes, looked up from behind the counter. "Evening," he muttered, his voice gravelly. "Evening," I replied, trying to sound casual despite the unease gnawing at me. I made my way to the snack aisle, grabbed a bag of chips and a soda and headed back to the counter. The clerk scanned my items and bagged them without a word. As I handed him the money, I noticed his hands were shaking slightly. "Everything okay?" I asked, unable to hide my curiosity. He looked at me, his eyes filled with something I couldn't quite place. Fear, maybe. "Just a long night," he replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You be careful out there. Strange things happen around here at night." His words sent a chill down my spine. I nodded, took my bag, and hurried back to my car. As I got in, I locked the doors and started the engine. The rain was still pouring, and the windshield wipers struggled to keep up. Just as I was about to pull out of the station, I noticed movement in my rearview mirror. A dark figure was standing near the edge of the canopy, barely visible in the rain. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't make out any details, but the figure seemed to be staring right at me. I put the car in drive and pulled away, glancing back to see if the figure was following. It was gone. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease and focused on the road ahead. The rain made it difficult to see, and I drove slowly, my nerves on edge. About 10 minutes later, at around 11:30 p.m., I saw headlights behind me. A car was approaching fast, its lights cutting through the rain. As it got closer, I realized it was an old, beat-up truck, kind you see in horror movies. My stomach churned with fear. The truck followed me closely, its headlights blinding in my mirrors. I tried to stay calm, but my mind raced with possibilities. Was it the clerk, the figure from the gas station, or just a random driver? I decided to take a detour through a less traveled road, hoping to lose the truck. As I turned onto the narrow, winding road, the truck followed. Panic set in. My heart pounded in my chest as I sped up, trying to put distance between us. The rain made the road slick, and I struggled to keep control of the car. The truck stayed right on my tail, its headlights glaring. I knew I had to do something, but what? I couldn't call the police while driving in these conditions. Suddenly the truck swerved, pulling up alongside me. I glanced over and saw a man in the driver's seat, his face obscured by shadows. He was yelling something, but I couldn't hear over the rain and my own heartbeat. He gestured for me to pull over. Terrified, I shook my head and kept driving. The truck veered closer, nearly sideswiping me. I had no choice but to speed up. I prayed that the road ahead wouldn't have any sharp turns. Just as I thought I might lose control, I saw the lights of a small diner up ahead. It was a 24-hour joint, a beacon of hope in the darkness. I swerved into the parking lot and parked right in front, where the lights were brightest. The truck sped past, its driver glaring at me before disappearing into the night. I sat in my car, shaking and trying to catch my breath. After a few moments, I decided to go inside the diner. I needed to calm down and figure out what to do next. The diner was almost empty, except for a couple of truckers at the counter and an elderly waitress. I took a seat in a booth near the window where I could see my car. The waitress came over and took my order, a cup of coffee to steady my nerves. As I sipped my coffee, I kept an eye on the road. The rain had let up a bit and the night seemed quieter. I hoped that whoever was in the truck had given up and gone away. I stayed in the diner for about an hour, chatting with the waitress and trying to calm down. When I finally felt ready to leave, I paid my bill and walked back to my car. The truck was nowhere in sight, and I breathed a sigh of relief. It was now around 1 a.m. I got back on the road, still nervous but feeling a bit more confident. The rest of the drive was uneventful and I finally made it home around 2 a.m. I parked in the driveway and hurried inside, locking the door behind me. The next morning, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I checked the news and social media for any reports of strange activity in the area, but there was nothing. It was as if the night before had been a bad dream. Days passed, and I tried to put the incident behind me. But every time it rained, I couldn't help but remember the truck and the figure at the gas station. I became more cautious, always looking over my shoulder and avoiding late-night trips whenever possible. Then, about a month later, I saw a news report that made my blood run cold. A body had been found near the gas station where I had stopped that night. The victim was a young woman around my age who had gone missing a few weeks earlier. The police were investigating, but no suspects had been identified. The report mentioned that the gas station had a history of strange occurrences and that several people had reported seeing a mysterious figure in the area. I couldn't help but wonder if the clerk had known something or if he had been trying to warn me. To this day, I don't know who was in the truck or what their intentions were. I never saw the clerk again, and the gas station eventually closed down. But the memory of that rainy night still haunts me. Every time I pass a deserted gas station or see an old truck in my rearview mirror, I feel a chill run down my spine. Was it just a random encounter with a dangerous person, or was there something more sinister at play? I'll never know for sure, but one thing is certain. I will never forget the night I spent at that gas station in the rain.